From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
Ayes 33, nays 29.
You didn't flip it yet. Just turn it off. Late Friday night, the New York State Senate voted to legalize gay marriage, making New York the sixth and by far the largest state to approve same-sex marriage. 4 Republicans joined all but 1 Democrat in passing the bill.
Intellectual and emotional journey has ended here today, and I have to define doing the right thing as treating all persons with equality, and that equality includes within the definition of marriage.
Then a group of U.S. citizens is attempting to set sail from Athens, Greece, as part of a flotilla to challenge the Israeli blockade of Gaza.
To sail to Gaza, we are over 22 countries and 10 ships that are going. Our boat right now is ready to go. As I said, there has been a complaint that's been, lodged against our boat. It's totally bogus, and they were trying to slow down the process. Tomorrow, our lawyer is going to try to deal with it, and we hope that we will be sailing very, very soon.
Democracy Now! Is in the Greek capital of Athens to cover the journey of the U.S. flagged ship called the Audacity of Hope. Its fate now in limbo under the weight of U.S.-Israeli pressure and Greece's economic turmoil. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Tens of thousands of New Yorkers marched on Sunday to celebrate the state's new law legalizing same-sex marriage. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed the legislation Friday night, shortly after the Republican-controlled state Senate passed the measure in a 33-29 vote. New York becomes the 6th state in the nation, by far the largest, to legalize same-sex marriage. At Sunday's Pride March, Heather and Leah Griffith celebrated the passage of the new law.
It's just great to be able to get married in our own home state. We've both lived here our whole lives, and it just means so much that our state actually recognizes us as people and as a couple. It's a validation of who we are.
We'll have more on the story after headlines. The Los Alamos Nuclear Weapons Lab in New Mexico has been shut down for the day due to a fast-moving wildfire that's endangering the lab and surrounding area. The fire began around 12 miles southwest of Los Alamos, charring about 6,000 acres. Fire officials say none of the fire is under control yet. Lawrence Lujan of the Santa Fe National Forest said, quote, "We have homes and we have the lab, so it's a very, very big concern, not only locally but nationally and globally." In other nuclear news, floodwater from the Missouri River has surrounded parts of the Fort Calhoun nuclear plant in Nebraska after the collapse of an 8-foot-high, 2,000-foot-long inflatable berm early Sunday. Emergency generators were needed to power the plant until an off-site power supply was connected Sunday afternoon. The plant has been shut down since April. Nuclear Regulatory Commission Chair Gregory Yasko is scheduled to visit the site today. On Sunday, Yasko visited another nuclear plant in Nebraska threatened by flooding of the Missouri River. The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi and 2 of his confidants for crimes against humanity. Gaddafi is wanted for orchestrating the killing, injuring, arrest and imprisonment of hundreds of civilians during the first 12 days of an uprising to topple him from power after more than 4 decades, and for trying to cover up the alleged crimes. Gaddafi becomes only the 2nd sitting head of state indicted by the ICC in the court's 9-year history. Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir was indicted in 2009. In addition to Gaddafi, arrest warrants were issued for his 2nd eldest son, Saif al-Islam, and his intelligence chief, Abdullah Sanusi. Meanwhile, The Independent of London reports human rights organizations are beginning to cast doubt on some of the claims of atrocities committed by forces loyal to Gaddafi that were used to justify NATO's war in Libya. Gaddafi's regime was accused of ordering mass rapes, using foreign mercenaries, and employing helicopters against civilian protesters. An investigation by Amnesty International has failed to find evidence for any of these human rights violations. The Independent of London also found indications that on several occasions the rebels in Benghazi appeared to have knowingly made false claims or manufactured evidence. President Obama's military plans in Libya were dealt a setback Friday when the Republican-dominated House of Representatives voted down an authorization for Obama to have the U.S. participate in the Libya war. The final vote was 295 to 123. The website Politico described the vote as a, quote, historic rejection of a commander-in-chief at war. But in another vote, the House did not agree to cut off funding for the war. Meanwhile, Republican Congressmember Mike Turner of Ohio has revealed NATO commander U.S. Admiral Samuel Locklear has confirmed to him that the U.S. and NATO forces are actively trying to assassinate Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi in defiance of the UN authorization. Locklear also reportedly told Turner NATO is considering sending in ground troops to Libya. In Yemen, tens of thousands of protesters filled the streets Sunday to demand a transitional council be formed to replace embattled President Ali Abdullah Saleh. He left Yemen earlier this month, shortly after he was injured in an attack on his presidential compound. Protesters demanded Saleh not return home and that his sons and relatives leave Yemen.
The crisis is gas and oil. It is not a crisis of the revolution. This is a revolution, not a crisis. The youth is still in the squares, and we have one aim, and that is to overthrow the regime.
In news from Africa, the Pentagon's planning to send nearly $45 million in military equipment, including 4 small drones, to Uganda and Burundi as part of the U.S. effort to battle Islamic militants in Somalia. The military package includes 4 small shoulder-launched Raven drones, body armor, night vision gear, communications, and heavy construction equipment, generators, and surveillance systems. The U.S. military is also sending aid to a number of other African nations, including Mauritania, Djibouti, Kenya, and Mali. Funerals have begun in Afghanistan for the 38 people who died Saturday in a massive bomb blast at a hospital in the eastern Logar province. The dead included pregnant women, children, doctors, and nurses. It's been described as the deadliest attack on a medical facility in Afghanistan since the fall of the Taliban in 2001. Afghan officials blamed the attack on the Taliban, but the group denied it. Meanwhile, tensions rising between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Afghan President Hamid Karzai has accused Pakistan of firing 470 rockets into eastern Afghanistan over the past 3 weeks. Afghan officials say the rocket attacks have killed 36 people, including 12 children. Pakistan has denied the charges. Meanwhile, in recent weeks, 55 Pakistani security forces have been killed and another 80 wounded in attacks from the Afghan side of the border. In Iraq, 2 U.S. soldiers died Sunday, bringing the month's death toll to 11, the highest in over 2 years. In Peru, thousands of anti-mining protesters took control of an airport in the southern region of Puno Saturday, one day after riot police killed 5 activists. Hours before the occupation took place, departing President Alain Garcia revoked the license of Canadian mining firm Bear Creek in an attempt to convince local residents to end protests that have dragged on for more than a month. The mining company has said it would sue the Peruvian government to get its concession back. Local indigenous groups have demanded the right to approve or deny mining operations in their communities and denounce the companies over concerns of pollution. Protesters say they would continue to resist the mining industry.
Those people who have died have relatives, they have children. It isn't possible that all of this is happening here. We are going to offer up our lives. It's not possible that they kill all of us just for defending the Ramis River from contamination.
Newly disclosed figures and internal documents are raising fresh doubts about natural gas drilling in the United States. According to the New York Times, well-placed financial analysts and experts have circulated warnings about the feasibility and profitability of drilling in shale gas wells across the nation. An August 2009 memo from the firm IHS Drilling Data says, quote, "The word in the world of independence is that the shale plays are just giant Ponzi schemes and the economics just do not work." Earlier this year, an analyst at PNC Wealth Management compared natural gas projects to the dot-com boom, saying, quote, "Money's pouring in, even though drilling is inherently unprofitable." In another memo, a retired geologist for a major oil giant writes, quote, "These corporate giants are having an Enron moment. They want to bend light to hide the truth," unquote. A review of more than 9,000 wells show many wells are failing to meet industry projections, with just 10% recouping their estimated costs after 7 years. Just 20% of wells in 3 highly regarded shale formations in Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas are believed to actually be profitable. The previously undisclosed data could raise questions about whether companies are illegally inflating claims about the size and productivity of their wells. A former Enron executive who went on to work for an energy company compared the behavior of shale gas firms to his former employer Enron, writing, quote, "I wonder when they will start telling people these wells are just not what they thought they were going to be." Wisconsin has been rocked by allegations that a conservative member of the state Supreme Court recently tried to choke a fellow justice during an argument earlier this month. Supreme Court Justice Ann Walsh Bradley told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that Justice David Prosser put her in a chokehold during the dispute in her chambers. The argument reportedly took place on June 13th, one day before the court ruled in a 4-3 decision to reinstate Governor Scott Walker's union-busting law curbing collective bargaining. Prosser has denied the claim. Chicago's newly appointed superintendent of police is under fire for comments he made connecting U.S. gun laws to institutional racism. Gary McCarthy made the statements while speaking at an African-American church in South Chicago in a neighborhood that struggled with gun violence for years.
Let's see if we can make a connection here. Slavery, segregation, black codes, Jim Crow. What do they all have in common? Anybody getting scared? Government-sponsored racism. Now, I want you to connect one more dot on that chain of the African-American history in this country and tell me if I'm crazy. Federal gun laws that facilitate the flow of illegal firearms into our urban centers across this country that are killing our black and brown children.
The Illinois State Rifle Association said McCarthy unfairly accused law-abiding gun owners and the NRA of participating in, quote, a government-sponsored plan to kill black people. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.